Well, on Wednesdays, we wonder here on Day of the Week, does the gay community help or hurt the gay people of the world? Now, I know this is a big topic, but before we delve in, I'm going to do a quick intro. I'm Jordan Anderson, and I'll be your host here on this show, so you better get used to me, because I'll be here for a little while. Zach Donson is my audio engineer. Say hi, Zach.
Hi, I'm a
Shut up,
communication.
Zach. Now, this show will cover a very broad range of topics going from the LGBT community to playing some funky tunes here every so often. However, since I like to jump right on into the controversial stuff, and since it's Gay Pride Week here on our beautiful campus of UHCL, we will be talking about if the gay community has been liberating or detaining to us gay folks. First, here on my right, we have Soleil Geniac.
Hello.
Right in front of me, we have Julia Wooten.
Hi.
And right on my left, we have Laura Schroeder.
What's up?
So, let's get the party started and begin.
All right. Well, as far as the gay pride parade goes, I'm not for it. I don't vouch for that because it turns what is normally considered like, love, falling in love with your significant other, and it globalizes it. It turns it into an ad. It turns provocative into the idea of like fishnet stockings and tube tops, and it's kind of gross. All in all, I've yet to see very many like conservative natured people there legit views on politics and such. I mean that's my fight me statement, but
Okay. No,
Yeah,
it's
me
okay.
too.
What were we talking? It's like what we were talking about yesterday. Earlier today. It's like I was talking about how lesbians are always portrayed as provocative. They cheat on each other. They are kind of terrible people as it's being portrayed as. They don't have healthy relationships. They don't have a healthy life. They don't really have a healthy anything. They cheat on everybody. And we were talking about
Are you
that
saying
earlier.
that it's portrayed that way in
It's
media?
portrayed that way by the gay community. Well, not necessarily by the gay community, but how it's being translated from the gay community to our media, our movies, our newspaper articles, our TV shows. The gay community seems to be translating something that's not true, and it's just being translated wrong by how it's being represented.
I'm gonna have to agree with you on that because whenever I first, discovered like, oh, I like women, one of the first things I learned from and like kind of followed and it was kind of like the introduction to like a liberal type mindset, but it was the L word, and in the L word there was cheating going around every corner. There was straight women just casually turning to lesbians, and it was a terrible representation of what being gay is, and it reflects poorly on the youth of today.
Where exactly did you see this, though? Do you have specific examples?
The L word?
No, I'm talking about, like, examples in movies or...
The L word?
Wait, is
The
that
L word is a Netflix series, and it was a
Am I
TV
an
show.
idiot? I think
No,
yes.
you're just straight.
Oh.
And
Roasted.
I mean, I'm not the only lesbian to know what the L word is, and I know there are like a select few heterosexual people who know what the L word is, but it is what it is. It's
That generally is like the first exposure to definitely a television show dedicated to lesbians and stuff. And I think as like youth, when you're 13, 14, and you just figure out, that's exactly like she said, like that's your first exposure. So it already sets up a mindset like that. Now, the question of where they're getting this from, the only thing that I could see it coming from is the gay community.
Okay. Well, I think that if this is like a kind of show for young adults, then I would like to make the point that almost all shows, even about straight couples, is like this. They always are cheating on each other. They're always, like, if for Riverdale, for example, like, just gonna say, Archie and all of those characters are always cheating on each other. They're always having that kind of drama. It's not necessarily just the LGBT community portrayed in the media. It's how all relationships are portrayed. And
well, yeah. I mean, we're not trying to like victimize LGBT. I mean, if anything, it's more glorified than anything.
That's true.
And as far as statistics go, like, for the heterosexual people, like, that's represented a lot more than it is in LGBT. Think about it, like, how many queer people do you see on television anyways? I mean, it's
true.
drastically increased since in the past years, but you don't see much of it.
I think that it's good to have representation in the media, so especially in kids shows, because it teaches them that loving the same gender is okay, and like that this stuff is okay, and that they need to be exposed to the good parts.
I
guess.
disagree. I don't think love in general, like as far as relationships go, I don't think that should really be keyed on in kids shows. I think kids shouldn't have to worry about that at all.
But if you're saying that there is a child in that television show, like maybe it's a cartoon or something, and they have cartoon parents, does it always have to be a straight couple as the parents? I think that there should be, like, gay couples. Like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't make a difference.
I suppose not, but I do think it will affect the plot. I mean, it doesn't always have to affect the plot, but I mean,
the purpose
as
is
long as
normalizing
it doesn't affect the plot, then sure, whatever.
Okay.
Do what you must.
Maybe it doesn't have to be the kid characters that are worrying about love and kissing and all that. Like you said, the parents. That's a way to have representation without
Subtle
the kids kissing each
representation.
other.
I agree. I mean, I think it should be more represented in a healthier way. I think whenever it turns into, like, the main character being gay or something, then, like, things can easily go south. There can, like, if the character has conflicts, that's immediately going to be reflected on, oh, it's because he's gay. But yeah, I agree. I think more representation of healthy relationships. But I also think if you were talking, like, adult shows, in those instances, a lot of LGBT relationships are portrayed as, like, I guess a little bit of both. Because you have, like, I can't think of one where there's, like, a good couple in it, because I'm thinking family something. It's like a family show, and it's all about, like, oh, there's this two gay couples and blah blah blah. But, like, even in that show, like, the gay couples are portrayed to be, like, very flowy and flamboyant and, oh my god, you know.
Going back to what you said, yes, adult TV is usually based in, like, young adult TV is usually based around kind of like a provocative, kind of sexual a little bit in that relationship. But there are still some shows with very good straight couples that are very good, like, they're very healthy. But I've yet to see that in a gay couple. Would it be beneficial for one show to have good gay representation in a TV show instead of everything being like the L word? Does that even make sense?
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure all of us can agree on that.
Yeah.
So there's some middle ground. As for, like, representation in public, on the road, on the streets, and, you know, blocking people from getting to their jobs and houses, and, you know, I think that, no, I don't think that's good. A lot of people just go to Pride Parade anyways for the sake of wearing fun clothing. It's like a Comic-Con there. And Comic-Con's even turning into a liberal gay bias.
I mean, I actually think that pride parades are kind of a good thing, because it's a chance to, like, come together and celebrate the community and what they've done and all that kind of stuff, and support the effort of
Should we
things.
celebrate things like that?
Yes. As of right now, yes, we should, because they've had, like, I guess I'm saying they because I'm straight, but I'm being supportive, not in, like, a contest anyway. But because they've had so many, like, there have been so many good steps forward. Like, would it be bad if, say, right after women were granted the right to vote, would you say that it was wrong for them to celebrate it?
No. But
Even like a year after, if they celebrated on that exact date, or the next year, if it was, like, within, like, the
are you
decade
talking
range.
about women's marches and women's pride parade? Because if so, those have also been turned into clitoris parties.
When is that too much for the people? Because how I'm thinking about it is, if back in that day, I'm a man and I see in women are finally granted the right to vote. And if they just back off quietly and say, yeah, fine, we're happy, we got what we wanted, then nobody, that emotion that men probably felt, like, a little, like, undermined or something, that emotion doesn't get brought back up and people don't get mad. But if the women kept marching and marching and just rubbing it in everybody's face, when do people get tired of that?
Yeah, when does it become too much? I mean, I can understand, like, LGBT in, like, I don't know, Africa or something, but in America, we have all our rights anyways. I don't think there's... All right.
I guess it's just like they've been fighting for so long
Like,
that it's a big deal to celebrate.
Okay, so in 29 states, it is still legal to fire someone for being gay, lesbian, or bisexual. And it is in 32 states, the same is true for being trans. LGBT people also face like widespread like
Wouldn't
housing
that also call for freedom of religion? There was discrimination against a gay couple for
For
ordering
freedom of religion, yeah.
a cake, right?
I know.
Yeah.
But is that a bad thing? Then that gets rid of the right to turn away, like, giving service to someone. Like, if someone... Like, I'm an artist. If someone came to me and asked for, like, I don't know, furry porn, I would say no, because that's, in my personal belief, wrong. So, is that really a bad thing? I think that would be limiting our rights in that case.
But denial of a person, like this normal right that a straight couple would have. Speaking of wedding cakes,
Exactly, yeah.
why would you deny that person the right to have that
Religion,
cake?
personal belief.
I in general think that is wrong.
I mean,
I agree. I don't think that business and religion should conflict. Like,
Especially with something that is
okay,
not
I want to
particular-
order a
okay.
furry cake.
No. But with something like a wedding cake,
But if you put yourself in these people's mindsets, you think about, like, all the struggles that they've been through, and, like, how do they, like, view these things? Like, I view furry porn as bad, right? They view being homosexual as bad, and it's up to you to kind of, like, be like, hey, we're not actually bad, but that's like a personal growth. Mm-hmm. It's hard to. It's like me convincing you to be conservative.
you can like convincing me to be conservative. That is not something that is about human rights. Like, that does not take away my right, you know, but having somebody deny you of service because of because of discrimination, that's not okay. Okay, think about when back when there were whites and blacks, like restaurants and stuff, where you couldn't go in and be served because of this discriminatory. Well, that was a decision of the owner. If you wanted to make the decision to let like a black person into your restaurant, then that was their choice. And so it's kind of the same. But now that's not allowed. You're not allowed to make that discrimination based off of something that is like predetermined. You know, it's like their race is not their fault, just as their sexuality is not their fault.
But I think it also has to go in maybe with a little bit of reputation. Maybe you're big in the church and you run a small business, and if somebody else from your church sees you serving to a bunch of gay people and that's against what you guys believe, and then they're going to immediately think you are for this. We specifically like aren't for this, you know, but here you are serving a bunch of, I mean, does that, because I feel like it's a little bit of reputation too. That's why they don't. That's why.
Well, you know what? At the time, they had a bad reputation as well.
Yeah,
So it was about reputation in that case too.
Well, even past and present, I don't think that's necessarily a good
Like, I don't.
example.
Yeah.
I would have to say, like, on a moral standpoint, these people believe it is wrong. Of course, over time, it is convinced otherwise. Like, how many restaurants are able to still, like, neglect because of race? None? Like, legally.
I'm assuming. I'm actually not sure, but I'm.
They shouldn't be.
They shouldn't.
Exactly.
Exactly,
They
they
shouldn't be
shouldn't.
allowed
I don't
to
believe
deny
that's,
people because
that's,
of a belie-
that's
of
right
a-
at all. Unless it's, like, you actually
something
do see
they
a furry
can't
walk
help.
into the bar.
Exactly.
Well, like you said, that now there are no restaurants or that we know of that don't serve black people. You know, that's kind of not a thing. So eventually, by going by that, eventually it's going to be so accepted that gays are never turned down. You know? It's going to be so
But-
accepted over time. Do we just have to wait that out and let people's morals I don't think the word die down
Yeah.
is right, but eventually we all know that one day we are going to get there where nobody is turned down for that. But right now, should we just let people have their morals?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more a matter of time rather than demanding for it right in this moment.
But it won't happen unless you make a stand about it. It won't happen unless that law gets changed. It is all about progression. And if you don't make a stand in your life now, then in the future lifetimes it won't be as big of a deal.
Well, it shouldn't be a big deal. I don't
No.
think it should be at all.
I'm saying that's not what I meant. I'm saying, but as time goes by, people will start reverting if there isn't pushback.
Well, don't you think that it's been long enough? I mean, in the beginning, like, I can see, like, why they'd celebrate, but to see what it's turning into, it's like the definition of, like, feminism, like, first wave feminism, it was great. You know, women, equal rights, it was great. But now it's like second and third wave feminism where it's turning into we demand more rights. And
But I believe that is only a very few on the, like, that is a bad representation because the majority of feminists are not like that.
it is a terrible representation. I
It's
agree.
What is being showed? But it's what, when you ask somebody, what is the first thing you think of when you think of the feminine movement?
I think
What
of, like, Pride
comes
Parade.
to mind? Usually not what we saw back in the early feminist movement. Now it's like people running around with their shirts off. You know, whenever I think of the feminist movement, I think of women running around acting crazy, not being respectable, not respectably demanding equal rights. I see them acting crazy.
That's not where I see it, though.
Where do
I
you
don't
see
see
it?
that. I see it in, like, celebrities making a stand, like the people that I follow. I don't see it as much like that. But I also am not on Tumblr, so.
I haven't been in a while.
But like,
It's probably
I mean,
a good thing you're not on Tumblr.
Yeah, I know. That's what I've asked my parents this, and I asked them, "What's the first thing you think of when you think of feminism?" They don't think of celebrities. They think of the crazy people that they see on TV, that they see in the news, they see in the newspapers, they see on websites, blogs, things that's because that's not what the media wants to portray something exciting. They don't want to portray the underlying good cause that maybe they're doing. They want to portray the crazy people, I think, that are
Yeah, and you
doing
still
this.
see that on TV though.
Yeah.
Like I know like you don't get into a lot of the shows that we typically do, but if you even go on Netflix and you have something remotely LGBT there in your recommended, you will see shows like The L Word. Do you think that we have like the LGBT actually just even like the on the surface lesbian and gay, do you think that we've like achieved a significant amount of rights to where we can finally just be normal people?
You mean like marriage? Like we've gotten
I'm
marriage
thinking,
in the
like,
past few
You know,
years.
coming out to your parents and your parents are like, oh,
LOL, okay.
like I don't, oh yeah, I saw like a thing on that. She was a great person. She cured cancer. Oh, you know, she's actually gay too. Congrats. Like to a point where we don't have to turn being gay into a statement.
Yeah.
Like it's not
And to a point
me.
where you're not afraid to tell your parents, to a point where you don't have to worry for years and years. How am I gonna tell my parents I'm gay? You don't have to worry about the repercussions that are gonna is that ever going to happen? And is that going to happen by the gay community continuing to do as it does, or is the only way that we can achieve that to backtrack and just kind of chill for a minute?
Yeah, like if I was bringing my grandma to the sideshow of the parade, like would I be okay with that? Like is it too provocative? Like I don't want to give her a heart attack.
I don't know, because I'm very fortunate to have parents that are accepting and that don't view the gay community with stereotypes and be like, oh, that person could be gay, like even though they're not wearing a feather boa and glitter, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Like but other people in my family aren't very accepting, and you're kind of right that I probably wouldn't bring my aunt to a pride parade.
But is that a flaw of the parade, or is it a flaw of the way that you think people will react? Because I know that I think that my family would be accepting. I think honestly that if I were to take my sisters to something like that and I was like, well, I'm gay, they would have fun. They would be like, okay, yeah, whatever, this is fun. Like, it's just a parade of celebration of unity. But, like, I think that the older generations, it's much more prevalent that they look down on it, People who have come from this background of, like, onset, religious beliefs and everything that is discriminatory. So I don't know if really it's a flaw with the parades or it's just something that will become accepted over time.
Yeah.
Or is the parades what made a lot of people, like, is it not necessarily the parades, but, like, well, maybe the parades.
Okay.
Is that the way, has that influenced what people are fearful of?
Queuing back to Julia's point on, like, religion, was it? I recently came out to my grandma, and she goes to church every Sunday. She sings in the choir. But of my family, it was my mother who barely goes to church that wasn't accepting. My grandma was very accepting, actually.
Woohoo, go
Yet-
grandma.
Yet I would still never take her to a pride parade. Never. I don't think people in the parade realize how gross it is. How gross it's of what it's turning into, what they're really representing.
Why?
Why
Do
what?
you think that it's gross?
Why do I think it's gross because they're channeling, like, again, wearing fishnets, tube tops, and showing as much skin as a way to justify being yourself. Like showing skin and being provocative is being yourself.
This may just be me, but I don't think that's inherently bad. I don't think that should be shameful at all. I think that whatever, you wear however little clothes you want, it doesn't matter.
I think that if it were a parade for, like, body shaming, then yeah, that would be a perfect thing. You can wear whatever you want. I don't care. Well, I'm serious. Like, I don't want to show up and see people wearing no clothes. I think that's not respectable. I don't think that's a good representation
what
of a
no.
fight. Like, I don't think that's a good representation of a protest. I think that's just you doing whatever you want, you going up there and saying, yeah, I can do whatever I want because I'm protesting for something.
But it's not a protest. It's a parade. It's a celebration. It's not really like a full-on protest.
I mean, I don't think it's bad because some gays are just actually like that. They are flamboyant, and that's just who they are, and it should be accepted.
That's true.
Is it though, or did they learn that? Because I think it
Sometimes
was
they're just
more
actually
learned.
like that.
There are definitely straight people who are flamboyant, so I don't think that it's inherently learned.
I guess I can kind of vouch for, like, that's kind of how some people just are.
yeah.
But for the majority speaking, the number of people who are just normal tend to turn into that because it's like, oh, I'm gay, I must be dyke now. Like, that's kind of like, that was my mindset in, like, 6th grade. Or, yeah, like 6th grade. It was like, I saw the L word, I saw a dyke, and I was like, well, shoot, now I have to be that. It's not... And, like, had I continued with that mindset, I probably would have been parading in the streets. I would have been going against what I'm talking about now. And
What changed?
what changed? I started listening to the other side of the conversation. Like, yeah, I'll still, like, come across, like, more, like, liberal themed shows, and I'll learn from them. Like, there are some points that I do agree with. Like, I don't agree that LGBT should be discriminated in, like, restaurants or environments. I don't agree that they should be shunned for for going into, like, a restaurant or something and being overtly queer. But I also don't think it should be glorified. I don't think that it's something to celebrate anymore.
But you're talking about this as if there is still no pushback, and we still have ways to go.
Yeah. I mean, I know there are still people out there who will not agree
People
with...
who will never change their
Who will die.
morals.
Oh.
They
I mean, I
eventually
suppose we
will,
all will,
yes,
yeah.
we all eventually will. But, like,
mainly older.
when But should we just let them live out their lives as they believe and try not to force this change upon them and ruin their whole moral stance? Should we just let them think
It's
what
their
they
fault.
think? Well, I mean, they grew up in a different older people. Her grandma could have been like, I don't ever want you in this house again. And that would have been because, I don't know, she might have been raised in a way that was wrong. If I told my grandfather he grew up on a farm, that was wrong. You don't do that. It's just how he was brought up, and to be shoving those thoughts on him at this age, it's not going to change. So why, I wouldn't say why try, but don't have high hopes that everybody's going to change now. It's going to take a long time until those people, until those people die and we get in, like, the newer generation, it becomes more accepting. You know what I mean?
Well, I have a very Christian, like, country Georgia grandparents, like two very, very, like, they grew up on a farm as well. And my grandma lives in Georgia, like rural Georgia, and yet she is totally liberal, and she was raised totally Republican.
Well, yeah, I mean,
There are special cases, of
there are
course.
special cases.
But for a lot of them, I wouldn't say that for everybody, though.
But people have to make their decisions on their own, not based off of what they've been raised
oh
into.
Yeah.
totally.
But-
I
And so
agree
I still
completely.
think, but you're saying, what you are saying kind of sounds like you don't think that they should be held responsible for those discriminatory beliefs, and I still believe that they should be, because they can make those decisions on their own, even if they are raised into something different.
They should make decisions on their own, but is what we're doing with all this pushing the way to go? Is that the way that we need to address this situation? Are we being too upfront and in your face about it? Should we just slowly? Yeah, that's just the question. Are we being too in your face about the whole thing? Like, all of a sudden you turn around, rainbow everything, you know? Is that being too upfront? Should we have done this in a more subtle way that maybe could have helped? Maybe could have made things better.
I mean, I don't think so. I think the majority of the media is still very straight, and there's not even a lot of gay stuff out there, and it's I don't really think it's that in your face about it. The majority of it is still very
Does it
straight.
need to be
I have
more in your face? Like, I mean, are we just? Is it? I don't know. What are you saying?
Like, is this
I
like a
don't-
decent amount of gayness in the media?
Like, I don't think it's too in your face because it's still not the majority.
Is
hold on.
is the amount of gay in the media a decent amount, or should there be
or is
more
it
or less?
Is it the right stuff? Is there different stuff that we could have put out there, or that we still can? Is it the right stuff that we are showing to the world?
This is kind of a good example, but I don't know what the exact show is called. It's one of those house renovation shows with the people, Chip and Joanna, you know?
Okay.
And so pretty much somebody made the point that they had never had a gay couple on their show ever once. And should that be allowed? Because they choose new couples each and every time. And if they have like 6, 7 seasons, they should. I think that they need to represent gay people in the media.
So to hire
As in-
someone explicitly because they are gay?
No, but to not turn them down, because they choose each and every one of the couples. And there are other shows where they don't hire them specifically because of that, but throughout 7 seasons, you would think that a couple would come to you who is gay.
You're right. I
Like-
do watch a lot of HGTV. I watch like every show on HGTV. I'm kind of an addict. Anyways, on a lot of other shows, there is always occasionally a gay couple, but I've never seen it on Fixer Upper, which is the title of the show you were talking
Yes,
about.
exactly, yes.
Could it be because of the audience that it mostly appeals to? Like, it appeals to mostly right-wing men.
No.
Right?
What do you
I feel like it's
mean?
middle-aged wine moms who like
Yeah, are
HGTV.
you-
Wait, is Fixer Upper like a
It's on.
like This Is
it's
How I Build show?
HGTV.
It's
And
like
they,
decor,
go and renovate
HGTV.
houses.
Soleil.
It's a
Like
house
like-
flipping show.
It's a what?
It's a house flipping show or
A
stuff
house
like.
flipping?
And then it's
For old people, Soleil.
but I watch it, so.
I do too.
Me too. I love HGTV. Not gonna lie.
But it's a lot for like maybe not us teenagers, you know?
No,
But I watch it
I love
anyway
it.
because
What
I
do you
like
mean?
it.
Okay, shows geared towards mostly right-wing men. Looking at
No.
the show,
It's
looking
not
at
geared towards right-wing men. It's geared to.
Well, okay,
everyone.
What kind of show
Yeah.
is it? It's like
It's
a
a family
fixer-upper
channel.
show.
It's a family. It's like
But is it like a
it's
like a cut-
decor, and it's both because it has a couple, a straight couple, and the guy, what he does is he does all of the construction, all of the repair and everything, and then she does the decor on the house when it's done, so it's for everybody, I guess.
Okay.
And then they like show the family the house that they built them. They're all happy and everything's all good.
We were
I
just
mean,
saying, I
it's
think we were
just-
saying that like other shows on the network have gay couples represented on their shows,
Oh,
but
Yes.
not on
okay.
Fixer Upper. They've never seen a gay couple on Fixer Upper.
Well, how
but
long
you
has that
have
show been around?
A long
couple
time.
years
A
now. I
long
think there's
time,
5 or
I
6
bet.
seasons.
So is it
Can you
justifiable?
see where that comes into play?
I can see where it comes into play, but they should not be.
I do. Yeah, I agree. Like as the show progresses, it should move on to like a more open approach.
Yeah, there shouldn't be any kind of bias because it's just people looking for a house.
There shouldn't be, but like in the beginning, like what did they have to start out with? They needed to appeal to the vast amount of audiences.
What we're saying is, though, over 7 seasons, wouldn't you think that at least, by chance, there would be one gay couple, at least, and there's not.
I do have to agree with that.
Yeah.
That is, it's not wrong, but it is kind of unfair. It's like there are a lot of gay people that probably apply for that show, and for them to not choose any of them, what does that say about them? And what does that say about the channel, the TV network?
I don't think it would reflect badly on the network because the other shows on HGTV do have gay couples featured in their episodes. Like House Hunters, there's gay couples looking for houses. It's homeowners, but
Homeowners.
homo owners.
Homeowners.
Some of them just don't have any homeowners, you know? It's like the other shows have gay couples, but this particular show still hasn't had gay couples looking for houses. So it's not good.
We just totally bashed on them.
I think it's their
I mean,
show.
yeah, it's their show. It's
They
their
can do
business.
what they want. Because I feel like that's a violation of kind of just First Amendment stuff, you know. That's kind of a violation of being able to do what this country was made to do. Kind of just do what you want, you know? I mean, like, we're not going to bring race into this. Everybody in America's already discussed that that's wrong. But, like, you know, in this day and age, it's just the new thing. It's the new controversy. And I think it took a very long time to get where we are today in race. And I think it's just going to take a very long time to get to be that in this topic.
I think from a business standpoint, they'd be stupid to neglect like bringing an LGBT member onto
Yes.
the show. Like it'd be stupid.
Like,
Like
they're
that
turning down
reflects
business.
poorly.
They'd
Yeah.
want to do that for their own benefit, but they still have the choice to do that.
Yeah, and if
And
the
it-
audience doesn't like it, then they'll stop watching and the show will get canceled.
Yeah, and it still should be their right to choose. Of course I don't agree with it cuz I want to go. Cuz if we went somewhere and they kicked us out, yeah, I'd be pissed. I'd be very pissed. But you know, I'm not going to say, well, that's wrong. We should advocate. We
should protest against
Oh,
HBO or
We should
something.
protest. Yeah, we should. Yeah, if we got kicked out of a restaurant, I wouldn't say we should protest this restaurant. I'd say, well, because what I love about this country is that you can do what you want. You have that right.
Well, then,
But-
theoretically, why shouldn't somebody be able to be like, hey, you're a race that I don't like, get out?
They have that right.
It's goods and services. Like I'm providing a good,
Mm-hmm.
therefore I want to make sure I like whoever's taking my goods, and
But that should not be the way that businesses work.
It shouldn't
It
be,
shouldn't
but
be
it
discriminate.
is.
There should be no discrimination. If the person has money, they are willing to pay for the service that you, as long as it's not personalized, something that is personally against your belief, as long as it's something normal, like, say, maybe you were in a department store and this gay couple wanted to buy sweaters, and the sweater's the same for everybody. why is that necessary? As long as it's not something that's personally against your belief. Like, say, I suppose I can understand where the wedding cake is, like where that idea is coming from, because if you don't support the marriage.
I definitely agree that it shouldn't be that way. But it's still their right to make it that way if they want to. The question is, how can it be fixed? Is it morally right to take away their rights as business owners to turn anybody that they want down? Is it morally right to take away that?
It is.
It is more. Why?
To take away their ability to discriminate. They can do it in their head. They can do it in their everyday life. But should you be able to do that in a business? No. You shouldn't.
What can be fixed? What can be fixed? Do we need to make laws?
Yeah, how would you be able to...
Yes.
Okay, what...
Well, what would you do?
We've done that with racial discrimination. I'm bringing up this topic again because it is similar in that way.
Yeah.
They've made laws where you can't discriminate that way in restaurants, and that can be done with LGBT.
But if that happens, I don't think that will be widely accepted, and I think that would cause more pushback onto the LGBT community. I feel like...
Are you saying that just because there's pushback that we shouldn't push forward?
That is very...
No, that's not at all.
What I'm saying is that, like, if I go into a store and say I want to buy something and they turn me down because I am gay, and then we make laws that say they can't do that, they're going to have to take their morale... They're going to have to take this out on something. That could cause violence. I feel like it could cause more violence because now you're going to have to take that out on something. Because now you can't just turn somebody down the store to view to get your morals out there. Now you can't just turn somebody down. You have to, violence is now needed, I think. Because if I didn't agree with a gay person coming into my store, I know. Like, if I didn't agree with a gay person coming into my store and buying my stuff, and I wanted to let them know I didn't agree with their lifestyle, I would say, sorry, I don't serve gays here. Please get out of my store. Because people always like their morals to be known by other people, especially by people that they don't agree with. I think that's just part of human nature. So by taking away my right to get my morals out there in a way that's still legal, I feel like violence is then ensued by if my right is taken away.
There were riots exactly after there were laws made that you couldn't discriminate.
There were riots right after the Trump election.
There are riots after everything, so I don't think that is a reason to stop pushing forward.
No, but I don't think rioting and acting insane is a good way to handle it.
And getting people
but that's
killed.
that's not from my side. That is the way that it would be That's the way that it would react.
Well, no, it is. I used an example from your side. People who rioted against Trump were libertarians.
That's not what I'm talking about, though. I'm talking about this.
You're not talking about it, but again, just like black people, this relates. It correlates.
Okay.
So
I don't see where you're going.
Are you following where I'm going? Okay. So from our side, hypothetically, if you were to make a right, like it's a law now, like you cannot discriminate against LGBT of any sort, there would be people who would be genuinely pissed about that. Right? People who are mad react violently. Some of them. Of course, there are some cases, but in the majority of things, people would react violently.
Yes.
And people...
Just like people did during the Trump election.
And people could get killed.
Yes.
I mean,
and that's
something
on both
like that
sides.
would making this law legal... Nobody's getting killed right now that I know of in America. And so it could be... hold on, let me try to think. That limit could be pushed. Nobody's truly getting hurt, killed, or any of that right now. Do we want to push that? If we make this and violence and rioting becomes kind of the pushback and people get killed, are we really better or worse now?
Yeah, I mean, like
after for the future generations.
I don't want to get killed for the future. I'm honest. I don't want to get killed for the future generation. I just want to live my life happily.
Did anybody in history ever make a difference by sitting quiet?
No, but I know pushing down a statue right after Trump was elected
is ridiculous.
That's ridiculous.
That's not what we're talking about, though.
Okay, no, I'm talking about reacting violently. Mm-hmm. It's not progressive in any way.
But that's not violent. But no, not that. That making a law is not violent. That is
It's not violent,
But
but
it
it's
could-
limiting rights. If you take away someone's right to
People
do
are gonna
something,
start
people
wondering
will react violently.
and then they start to
what is
wonder.
the difference? What is the difference between discrimination to LGBT versus discrimination about race?
I'm not.
What is the difference?
Another issue that happens in the LGBT community is that on sites like Tumblr, there's a lot of stuff that's, well, made up. Like, people make up things like space, sexual, aesthetic, gender, and all that's like very, very fake stuff. And people see that and then think it's the same thing as like non-binary and then call non-binary fake or bisexual or pansexual. They think it's the same thing as pansexual or whatever.
Do we have a rise in non-binary and stuff like that? Or what I'm trying to say, our youth, 12, 11-year-olds go on Tumblr. Because Tumblr's very popular. You go on Tumblr and you hear about all this stuff. Reading all this stuff for years and years and years and years, do you eventually start to think, I should be trans, I should be non-binary, I should be whatever all these things are? I don't know where I'm going with this, but is that a thing?
Like it
Is it
becomes
because-
popular, therefore you want
Is
to
it
be a part of
become-
that.
Do we have a rise in all this stuff? Is it because people actually feel this way, or is it because people are told to feel this way through sites like that, where it's just a popular thing to be gay, it's a popular to be trans, non-binary, all this stuff, and so they just go with it? Maybe they don't actually feel that way.
Yeah, I think that's true. I agree with that. I think that there are a lot of people who want to join a community of some sort online and just feel the need to, get attention for that. And it's obviously not the case every time at all, sorry. But, yeah, I think that it is important to touch base on the fact that some people are doing it for attention. And that's true with everything.
That's very true.
Yeah, people do all kinds of things. They join all kinds of communities that they don't even like, that they don't even feel about, for attention.
I'm not sure that's where I was going with
Then
that.
go with it. What were you thinking?
That, like, because of these things, these made-up things on Tumblr that, like, okay, things like pansexual and other sexualities besides gay and lesbian aren't there's not a lot of information about them. And when people go on Tumblr to look up LGBT, they see things like space gender and stuff like that.
And then it turns into a joke.
And then they think it's a joke. And they think that bisexual and pansexual is just as much of a joke as space gender. Or
Does
whatever.
that also reflect on every other part? Does that reflect on lesbians? Does that reflect on gays? Not just pansexual, not just bisexuals. Yeah, it's
Maybe
a
a
thing.
little bit too,
Bisexuals are kind of a joke. I don't think they should be, but they are. But is that also... Do outside people see us that way as a joke?
I think maybe
too?
not as much because gay and lesbian are more, well, like, there's more information about it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's not as much information about pansexual and some of the other more uncommon sexualities.
A lot of the for trans example, they have been doing studies like on being lesbian or gay or something, but whenever it comes to trans, a lot of trans people have been declining any research further into that area, mostly because I don't know why.
Okay, yeah, those things that are made up on Tumblr can taint the image of sexualities that actually exist, like bisexual and pansexual. It's not good.
I do tend to agree. It does. People like that, pansexuals do get made fun of, and I don't think it's right. I don't. So, I mean, I don't have anything else to say on that. I don't think it's right. They shouldn't do that.
I agree.
Okay.
We're
So,
gonna-
I mean, do we want to talk about how maybe what could be changed, like just a little short thing, what could be changed in our gay community, not in politics, not in the White House where they make the laws, what in the gay community could be changed to help further benefit the gays of the world?
I say tone it down. That's still my stance, and I will continue on that stance.
I tend to agree. Maybe don't stop it, because like you said, I do agree it will revert back if you don't keep it up. It needs to be persistent, but maybe not obnoxious. I think it
Okay.
needs to be a persistent underlying thing, but not terribly obnoxious to the point where people feel pressured to maybe believe in something that they don't. Then maybe when you feel pressure to believe in something that you don't, then you get angry, you get upset, and then you could take it out on other people. So, is toning it down? Soleil and I are both in the agreement that toning it down is a good thing.
I think that it's fine the way it is. Maybe tone it down on making it seen as a sex symbol, you know? Because definitely the parade, I do understand how it could be seen as more of a joke, how people could not be taking it as seriously because of the promiscuity. Is that a word?
Provocative.
Promiscuous.
Promiscuitivity. I don't know. I think I just made a word. But that doesn't mean that I think that it's wrong. I think that that's their decision to do that, and it's a celebration. But I do understand where you're coming from, to see if people would be more adverse to it, people would be less adverse to it if it was just about love, not so much as a sex symbol.
That's mainly our point, because I think that's the first thing that ran through our parents' mind is, oh my God, that they see it's kind of a sex symbol, kind of like they see that aspect of it, and I don't think they see the love aspect of it. I don't think a lot of people see the sexual aspect of it. So like you said, I think they need to mainly tone down the sexual aspect of this whole thing, because it's not about sex, it's about love. Sex comes with love, but love is the first step. And I think they do need to tone that portion of it down to set a better image for themselves. And
ramp up the love, y'all. Ramp up the love.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
Like, straight people don't have to tone it down, though.
Well, straight people don't represent themselves as sexual as often.
I mean,
well,
they
okay.
don't have to tone it
Majority of
down.
people,
But straight
LGBT
people- I agree.
versus straight, there's more straight people.
but
You're going to
straight
see more of it.
people- And it's not just that, but straight people, being straight is the default. It's like kind of the starter thing. Like, you know.
Like, you think you're straight growing
No,
up because
no,
of
no.
society?
No.
You're straight. We're the ones that are demanding to be respected. So we should earn that respect. Straight people are the ones that are just already here. They don't need to be accepted, because that's what it's always been throughout history and time. Straight people don't need to be accepted. We're the ones that need to be accepted. So to be accepted and to gain acceptance, I think we do need to conform a little bit and tone it down until we are fully accepted and equal as straight people. I do think that we are equal, but I do think that
I think we're taking it too far.
Yeah. I think right now we are in this crucial stage that we're accepted by half the people and not accepted by the others. And I think I just think we need to tone ourselves down. And yeah, that's my argument. I think we just need to tone it down.
But also, I do see that I might counteract a little bit of what I said earlier. Like, I do believe that, but I can also see the other side, where why would they need to tone down that? Because what is usually not accepted within like religious groups is not necessarily like it is, but it's not as much the idea of love, but more the idea of sex with the same like gendered. And so I guess showing off that like that sexual side of being a different sexuality is like that is a way of progression.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, because like a lot of people don't believe like, or not a lot, but like a good majority of people still don't believe like lesbians exist. Like women have a fluid sexuality. I can see what you're going off in that, where it's like, yeah, we gotta prove to them that yeah, it's sexual. But also, I feel like that's a way to really degrade the entire thing that you're fighting for, which is love overall.
Yeah. So I think all in all, very good place to start is to maybe tone down the straight up sex aspect of it all.
Turn down the sex, turn up the love aspect.
Turn down six.
Wow, I
turn
feel
up
like
the
we're
lip.
one of those jazz
Yeah.
bands. Like, yeah, turn
know,
up the
Turn
love.
up the love.
Can you like
the
turn down the
love
voices
hour.
on it? It's the love hour, the flower hour.
Do you agree?
It just it sucks that they have to tone it down because it's like
'Cause it was turned up to begin with.
it's in the media and stuff. Like a straight couple can have like sex on TV, but as soon as a gay couple like holds hands, everyone freaks out.
That is, I do believe that it shouldn't be this way, but it is, and so we need to adapt to what it is, so we can further, just go on with our lives. I think we need to do what we got to do now for everybody to be happy. So I think, is that a good
Middle ground?
place to stop?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Since that's the end of our show here today, and we did touch on the non-binary trans aspect during our conversation today, I think that would be a very good topic in a future show. So if you like what you heard here today, then tune in for our other shows. Send us an email or a suggestion at dayoftheweek7@gmail.com. And if you don't send me a suggestion, I'll just figure it out myself. So, tune in next time. Peace out.
Is that a threat?